wow. Oh, wow. I love that fan choice.
Thank
I
you.
don't have it, but I wish I did.
Yeah, I like to
Just,
use my Night of the Living Drag fan
yeah.
for Dragula.
I mean, that makes complete
Mm-hmm.
sense, honestly. But hello, uglies! Because we did get a Cynthia Doll feature in this episode, so I will do my Cynthia Doll impression. Hello, uglies, and welcome to the cup. No, I'm not going to do it anymore. The Currently Unnamed Podcast, where we put the real and the tea in reality, and you can always come to us first to quench your thirst. I'm Logan Murphy, say something gay. Gay, back in the underworld, finally, to talk about Dragula. I'm very happy, very, very happy about it. Because I've missed a lot of the season and I'm enjoying it. But in classic ADHD person style, I have my 3 drinks with me, 1 to hydrate, 1 to caffeinate, and 1 just for fun. So of course I have water because hydration is incredibly important. I've got some iced coffee with it's like cinnamon, vanilla, almond situation. It's very good. And just for fun, a tiny Coke Zero. Well, actually, it's mini, I think is what they call it. Yeah, the mini Coke Zero.
Because you are the mini Coke Zero girly of the podcast.
Correct. Today, I am the mini Coke Zero girly of the podcast. I could be drinking any of these 3 things in a cup mug if it didn't have signatures and other things in it. But you could get yours to do with whatever you please at lanagcreations.etsy.com. That link is in the description below. And we do ship domestically within the United States and internationally, so there are no excuses. Unless there are some excuses, then there are some excuses because there are some excuses.
Well, I'm David Healy, and I'm glad to not be alone this week.
Yay!
I don't have a cute intro, but I do have a cute shirt. I decided to wear one of my favorite monsters shirts, and it is the one and only Hoso Teratoma.
Come on, Hoso.
Yes.
Hoso's had a lot to say about this season on Twitter. I don't know if you've seen it, but...
Yeah, and Hoso's talked a lot about like Drag Race too and stuff. So I'm like, okay, Hoso watches it all, I guess.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Yep. But I'm just drinking some water right now.
It feels like, and I'm pretty sure you're going to get this reference, it feels like Hoso is the Angeria of the Dragula universe where they watch everything.
Right. That makes sense.
Like, I would love if they were not both booked, busy, and literally going all over the world, I would love a review show with the 2 of them where they just like bi-weekly maybe and just talk about all the things in like a podcast. Like Angie, Hoso, if y'all want me to produce that, I will. And I'd be happy to. But like I do love that. I love the monsters that do and the drag artists too that do watch everything with us. And it's like, yes, you're a winner of Drag Race, and yes, you're a 2-time finalist, but you're also a fan just like us, and that's kind of cool. But
exactly.
Yes, David, thank you for holding down the fort last week, because last week was not great for a lot of us. So thank you for holding down the fort here at the Dragula Reviews.
And I want to thank the people who left comments, because a lot of people left comments.
I loved seeing it. So
maybe not even a lot of people, but a lot of comments from a small group of people. So I appreciated those for sure.
Hey, we appreciate all of you for all of the comments that you put on things always. So thank you. Comments help us. The number of comments help us. So throw 30 comments down below. I will read all of them, and so will probably David. But no, I'm super excited to be back talking about episode 7 of Dragula. We are getting to the end of the season. I'm really sad because I'm really enjoying this season. I know you're a little mixed on it. I've been listening to your thoughts throughout the weeks. I agree with a lot of what you have to say. And we're going to talk about it. I'm very excited. Yep. But before we do, make sure to subscribe if you've not already, because we are here almost all the time giving you almost all things drag. And make sure to check out the description below where you can find all of our audio podcast links, our other YouTube channels, and our Patreon for exclusive content and early access, including early access to most of the Look Over Here episodes for the franchises we are covering, as well as early access to our Instagram review videos and our end of the year videos, which we are working on getting started for you all right now. So expect a whole bunch of fun drag related videos in December that include parts of some franchises. I love it. But we come back. I want to first talk about, because I haven't, obviously haven't been here much. I'm really sad that the intro sequence has just become a like synopsis of the episode. I don't know about you. I like the horror movie homages that we get, and we got one, so cool, but I want something more than just the bullets sitting looking pretty talking about the episodes. You know what I mean?
I see what you mean. I
Yeah.
also don't think those are necessary, but for me, I would rather just get into the episode. Like, save me the time.
You sure?
Because I used to get kind of annoyed with some of the very long intros that they would do that
Mm-hmm.
just felt kind of like, I don't know, kind of like they were just like getting high off of their own supply to say, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
A,
like,
a
oh,
bit.
I want to do this cool thing. And it just felt a little bit self-congratulatory on having a show.
I mean, to be fair, it's their show.
True.
So, and we have our show, and we spend about 4 to 10 minutes doing an intro every episode. So,
Not if it was up to me.
not if it was up to you. We would spend maybe 2 minutes maximum and then
Mhm.
go into the episode. I'm sorry, I'm long-winded. But yeah, I'm pretty sure also you're in the majority when it comes to your opinion. Because I'm pretty sure most people didn't really love the long intro. I think I'm just someone that's like, oh. It
That's
feels
fair.
so classic Dragula, and it feels like, I hate saying this, and the Boulets, I love you. Thank you for creating the show and providing several seasons of entertainment. But it feels like Dragula's getting watered down ever since they made the move to Shudder. Like, we're getting rid of the intro sequences. We're reusing a lot of the same floor show themes from older seasons. We're using the same exterminations from older seasons. Most of the exterminations this season have already been done before. It's like and it's still good, and it's good entertainment. And I love that you made this reference last week, because I couldn't agree with you more. It feels like this show is becoming something a bit more like Big Brother, where it's not scripted, but sometimes it kind of feels like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have such a reverence for the early seasons of Dragula, where it was so real. It was almost maybe too real at times. But I would rather have that than something that feels a little bit overproduced.
Yep.
That's just me.
Yeah, and that's really been my issue with the season so far. Like, I think on paper this should be the best season because it's got
The cast
such a
is
good cast.
incredible. The looks are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
The production.
Yeah. And I don't want to just blame the producers of Dragula. I want to blame
No.
the monsters, because I think so many of these monsters came in here saying, okay, I'm going to give myself a storyline. I'm going to self-produce, and they're doing it. And I think they're being rewarded for doing it. So I think it's just creating a bigger monster for future seasons, because people are going to see this is the way to succeed. I have to have a storyline. I have to have a fight when I get into the lab at the end, even though there's no reason for me to be fighting the other person who's up for extermination. I have to show that I have the drive if I want to stay, even though that should be irrelevant. How hard you're fighting in the lab determines if you're going to stay or not. I don't know. There's weird things, and I just don't like what it is setting a precedent for future seasons.
Yeah, and I've honestly kind of felt that since season 4 and Titans. Like, season 3 for me really feels like the last quote unquote real season, where season 4 just was so bombarded by drama, and it felt like a lot of the monsters, no disrespect to the season 4 cast either, but it feels like a lot of those monsters really set the precedent for coming in wanting to show looks, but also wanting to just be there to cause drama, because it's easier to cause drama on Dragula, I guess, as opposed to something like Drag Race, where objectively speaking, unfortunately, the fan base for Dragula is a little bit smaller, and so like you're not going to get as much hate.
Mm-hmm.
And I direct that mostly, honestly, to two people, and I don't mind saying who because I don't like either of them.
In season 4?
In season 4, but it's Bad Bill, Bitch Betty,
okay,
and Mary Cherry for me are the two people that really feel like they
not
kind of
Zavaleta.
set. No. And I will explain why.
Okay.
As succinctly as I can so we can get into the episode. But I just feel like those two specifically could have very easily gotten on Drag Race. And have a more flexible point of view. And there's nothing wrong with their POVs either. Objectively speaking, as drag artists, there's nothing wrong with either of their POVs. But it feels like the characters they were playing were characters that they knew they had to build up to be larger than life and even bigger than the show because they were overcompensating for not necessarily having and I hate saying quote unquote Dragula aesthetic, but they had less of a drag, and that season in general has a lot less of a Dragula aesthetic to it, where a lot of people really felt like, oh, like we literally saw Jade on that season. Right. We got Sigourney on that season. I would even say to an extent we got Saint on that season, where Saint's point of view is a little bit more flexible than someone like a Dolly or someone like a Hoso. But it feels like their overcompensation has now caused this like rippling domino effect where like on Titans, we got this stupid, I say stupid because that's my point of view, this stupid love triangle bullshit. And then season 5, we got the showmance thing that kind of dominated the season, when what I want to see on Dragula is good drag. And I feel like this season is a bit of a return to form when it comes to just the really, really, really good drag, and everyone's bringing it every week. And out of this top 5, literally, I think any of them can make it to the top 3, and I would understand. But it is starting to feel more scripted, unfortunately.
For sure.
And that's just my opinion. If y'all disagree, I do want to hear about it in the comments. Just don't be rude, because I want to hear other opinions. And I know that you, David, probably don't 100% agree with me, but that's my opinion. Anyway, we go back in. The monsters are talking about who they think is going to come back. Most people think that Aurora is going to go home. Yuri really wants it to be Jaharia going home just because she's closer to Aurora, and I get that. Makes sense. And Jaharia comes back, and I was sad to see Aurora go last week. I think it was absolutely maybe the most correct elimination this season. Just because I adore Aurora, and I've loved getting to know her on the show, and I think she's a phenomenal drag artist. That look last week was just bad. That look last week was just bad.
It wasn't her best, for sure.
No. And she's given such good, like her ghost ship. Oh my god. Oh my god.
What I didn't realize about the extermination, and if they said it in the episode, I completely missed it.
The electrocution?
I didn't realize they were being shocked.
Oh yeah, you could hear the shocking. I think Jaharia had a couple of confessionals about it too in the middle of it. But yeah, I definitely got it, and I was like, and I very publicly said that the 2 exterminations I would never do on Dragula were the needles and the latex, the shit they did last week. Like those are the 2 I would quit. I would leave and I would get exterminated. Like, nope.
Yeah. On last week's podcast, I actually mentioned how I noticed, like, I thought it was funny because one of the like ropes went in Aurora's mouth and one was like right under Jaharia's nose. But I listened to a different podcast and they were like, oh, you could see the mechanisms where they could actually breathe that were supplying air to them. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that. Okay. That makes more sense.
Because there has to be some form of oxygen going in, because they would not be able to last that long if they were not fed oxygen.
I thought it was like hold your breath for as long as you can type of thing.
No, I think that is a legal hazard. Like, legally, I don't think they can do that. Which is why, because I'm pretty sure they had the same things. I would have to go back and look when they did it in season 4. Because I didn't notice it, but I did notice that as well. But yes, Jaharia comes back in. Woo, woo, woo. The lab table conversation before we get the challenge is mostly just about people being quiet, people not sharing their opinions, stemming from Jaharia talking about how she's been silent but deadly all season, which I do agree with. I still think she should have won the group challenge. That's just my opinion. I will stand by that. I do love Pie, though. I ain't mad at Pie getting the win, but...
Yeah, Jaharia wants a challenge she's good at, so Greg does a little jab and says, like, a being quiet challenge.
A being quiet challenge. Coming from Gray, too.
Yeah, and that's the thing is Pie's like, oh, Gray, you're quiet, too. How are you saying this? Blah, blah, blah. And Auntie says that Gray is boring, basically.
Yeah.
And hasn't been adding much to the conversations.
Yeah.
But we do get a good motto from Gray. Oh.
We do. Go for it.
Yeah. Gray tells us that we should speak softly and carry a big stick.
I would like to see it. And I saw on Instagram that Auntie and Gray just spent like the last week together because Gray came to Chicago. Well, I'm so sorry, Rockford. I'm so sorry.
Right.
Rockford. And I'm like, I would pay for the OnlyFans. Not gonna lie to you. I would.
Oh, for the both of them?
Oh, for the both of them. Absolutely.
I'd pay for one of them.
Yeah, we all know. Speaking of that person, here's the thing, and I want to talk about Gray for a second. I adore Gray. I think Gray is a phenomenal drag artist. I'm so happy that he finally got his first win last week. Way overdue, but almost every challenge has been won by a different person so far, so I love that too. I don't connect with Gray as a character on the show.
It's because Gray's not self-producing like everybody else.
That might be it. And I like Gray, and I think Gray, if he wins, will be a very deserving winner. And I think it would be great to see Gray win. For me, it would be great with Greyt.
Yep.
Great.
You over-explained it.
I know I did. I'm just having an issue with his humor, I think is what it is. I want him to be more in on the joke instead of like just completely deadpan all the time. Like I wanted him to lean into the speak softly and carry a big stick thing, and he didn't. And I wanted him to lean in. And I think that's just my personal comedic taste. But I was like, I want you to lean in. I want you to
Raise
be
a virgin
joke instead of just I'm starting to believe it. Honestly.
There's no way.
No disrespect. And that's not a bad thing either. But I'm starting to believe it maybe.
If Gray's a virgin, it's because Gray knows that they're way too attractive for the rest of the world.
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't blame them.
Right.
I wouldn't blame them at all. But yes, so we get the challenge from the Boulets. The other thing that I'm missing is as the season goes on, the Boulets in there introducing the challenge videos. I miss that they used to get bloodier and bloodier after every extermination. Yeah. I'm like, I miss that a lot. And every week I'm like, oh my God, are they gonna no. Like the Boulets are blue balling me this whole season. I'm like, give us classic Dragula shit, please. Please.
Yeah, you don't want classic Dragula exterminations. You're complaining about those.
No, I do. I do. I want in the classic style. I don't necessarily want completely new I want completely new things styled in the Dragula style. Let me say that. But yes, we find out that the challenge for this week is dungeons and drag queens. I wish it would just been drag artists.
Well, it's just a play off of like. I think it works.
But also, Dimension 20 did it not first, actually, because Dragula did it first, and then Dimension 20 did
and it was called Dungeons and Drag Queens then too, and Landon Cider was there.
Well, yes. Also, I loved having Alaska on as a judge this season, and I understand when they had her, but I really wish they had her on this episode so they would have had Landon and Alaska because they both it would have been so good.
Because
or
they both what?
Because they were both in Dungeons and Drag Queens, the first edition.
Oh.
When Dimension 20 did it. Are you familiar with the Dimension 20 version?
I've heard about it. It wasn't Bob on it?
Yeah, it was Bob, Monet, Alaska, and Jujubee.
Okay, yeah, I didn't watch it, but
I've watched bits and pieces. I'm not a huge D&D person. That's just me personally. But yeah, I'm just not a huge D&D person. But
is this the first time? Is this the first time they've done Dungeons and Drag Queens since season 3?
Yes.
Because in my brain, I thought they had done it a second time, but what took them so long?
I don't know. I guess just cycling through all the challenges, I guess.
This is one I've been wanting to see back. And I thought we had,
too.
But just because that's like one of the most memorable episodes was from season 3. And not necessarily because of all the looks and stuff. The looks were cool, but the drama, the drama of that episode.
Madeline Hatter alone.
Mm-hmm.
That is my favorite episode of that season. I will say, unfortunately, objectively speaking, my least favorite Dragula season that provided me some of my favorite monsters.
Season 3?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. I know, hot take. I know.
Yeah.
I know it's a hot take. But yeah, talk about what the race class things they had.
Yeah, so
all that stuff.
Thank God I wrote notes, or else I would have been like, oh, what?
Also, when they said race and class, because I'm not familiar with those
class,
because I don't D&D, I was like, race?
Yeah.
But yeah, speak on it.
So we find out that Gray is a goblin warrior. Yuri is a troll warlock. Auntie is a troll druid. Pi is an orc warrior. Asia is a tiefling beastmaster. And Jaharia is a goblin wizard. Yeah, and none of this meant anything to me because my exposure to Dungeons and Dragons is the episode from season 3 and the movie that came out last year. That's all I've seen from Dungeons and Dragons. So I don't know these things, but they seem like pretty good characters. And then I thought this was funny. The Boulet said something about like, I hope you're better with your rolls than what's on your back or something like. I can't remember exactly how they said it, but they were making a back rolls reference, which I was like, oh, that's interesting. They made a very specific drag race reference on Dragula, and somebody's like, back rolls. I guess you can kind of say it's a Dragula adjacent reference now, since it was a Jade Jolie thing, and Jade has been on Dragula now, so it kind of worked. But they have to pick who they're going to be performing with because they have to do a choreographed battle with each other. Pretty much immediately, Auntie says she's hoping to go against Gray. She doesn't really want to disclose the reasons, but she has reasons that she wants to work with Gray. TBD.
We'll find out about that shortly, yes.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember what the quote was about the roles?
It was literally just, it was, because I loved it, and I wanted to talk about it. It was like, it was something, because rolling the dice is like the thing.
Yeah.
We are the least qualified people to be on the panel this week for this episode, because we don't. It was something about like, make sure your rolls are in check, instead of your back rolls or something like that. And I love that it was Asia that was like, back rolls.
Yep.
Because obviously she knows it. But yeah, I was gonna say it feels Dragula adjacent simply just because it's Jade. Mm-hmm. And I love that they made the reference. I'm glad that they leaned into that. I was happy about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, I was listening to their podcast last week, and somebody asked, would you ever do like an episode or a season where you have drag race, like all drag race queens?
Oh.
And they laughed. They're like, ha, 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 ha. They're like, look, there will never be any sort of crossover, and it's not because of us.
Well, yeah, that's obvious.
So
I'm curious if they would ever have anyone back, anyone else.
Oh, I'm sure they would. I mean, they've had 2 already, so what's to stop them from?
I was going to say any press is good press. So
yeah,
2
people from Drag Race on.
Oh, duh, Yuri. Obviously, duh.
I was like, are you forgetting Yuri?
For a second, yeah, because now I just associate Yuri with Dragula, honestly. Right. But yeah. So Auntie wants to go against Gray for reasons that we find out later. Pi and Jaharia are like, well, we've worked together now twice, and it has worked out well for both of us. So why not?
Right.
And honestly, I think that's maybe if I was either of them, that's the smartest move. Is like, I know how this person works. They're both still pissed at each other for the whole team leader shit. So why not fight it out, literally? And then we end up with Asia and Yuri as the leftovers, as Asia called it, having never worked together before. And it was a lovely duo because that's my draft team. And I wish it went better for both of them.
Oh, wow. You have both of your people left. Wow.
I do. I'm the only person I think that has both of my people left.
You are. But Asia is a little worried that Yuri might be too quiet, especially because she was homeschooled. And
the number of times that Yuri and everyone else talked about Yuri being homeschooled in this episode.
And like that's a thing, like growing up for me, but I grew up in like the 90s and early 2000s. Like we would make fun of people for being homeschooled all the time. But I'm like, is that PC still?
I don't know, because I did the same thing. I'll say that. Like growing up for me, it was also like, oh, but I also interacted with a lot of homeschooled kids on a regular basis because of like the extracurriculars that I was in. So I was friends with a lot of them. So it was like, I think I was actually in the minority for a good chunk of my, as long as I was in that program, which, conversation for another day. But yeah, so they quickly get to work on their things, splitting off into their little duos. Asia and Yuri just being a hot mess this whole episode. I was like, that's my draft team. They're complete fucking messes, but that's my draft team. And I love them both, so I'm going to firmly stand behind both of them. And then we get Pi and Jaharia very quickly. Like, Jaharia is doing coming up with all the choreo, and Pi is doing the choreo. And then we get this boudoir moment with Auntie and Gray.
Yeah, this was a very interesting conversation. So, and the way this started, I was like, this is self-produced. Like, this did not feel like an organic way to get to it. They're practicing their choreography, and then Auntie sits down because she's so exhausted, and Gray's like, well, I need to figure out what's wrong. It's like, come on. We know that's not what happened. You all planned this out. Just talk about it. If you want to talk about it, just talk about it. So Gray goes to see what's going on, Auntie, and Auntie feels bad for coming after Gray. Especially since she was just accused the previous episode for having her walls up. So this is her opportunity to let the walls down. And this is another reason why I feel like this is self-produced, because the last episode, Auntie was saying, look, my baggage is not just my baggage. And it felt like such a setup to talk about the baggage that's not just her baggage. And I'm glad this conversation was had. We find out that these are the only 2 people in the cast that do not drink, and they have connected over that, but they don't drink for very different reasons. Auntie talks about growing up with an alcoholic mother, and just all of the damage that came with that. And then Gray says that they were kind of the opposite. It was more that they had an issue with alcohol. They were sloppy drunk. Even at one point, they got in a tussle with a police officer and went to jail over it. So it was after that that Gray decided they needed to give up alcohol. They're reaching 1,000 days, and we find out that the Gray streak is in honor of their sobriety, which I thought was cool.
I knew it had to be something specific and something very like close to the heart. And I'm happy that I was right in that assumption. This whole conversation was just so beautiful to watch. And like, would I be at all mad if these two ended up being the top two of the season? No, I think I would be very, very thrilled and excited, and it would be fantastic personally. My pick is still my girl Asia Consent, but I wouldn't be mad at these two either. But yeah, this conversation was great. I was really glad to hear it.
Yeah, we also learn a little bit more from Auntie. She talks about like eventually having to confront her mom about everything she did while she was drunk, and her mom was just mortified about everything. And that was when her mother stopped drinking, and Auntie took a vow to never drink, which makes me wonder, like, was that a vow to never drink after that moment, or has Auntie actually just never had alcohol?
That I don't know.
Because I've never had alcohol. So if I found out that was something Auntie and I have in common, that would be really cool. So maybe I'll message her and ask her, because
you've had really good luck at drag artists that are currently on TV replying to your messages. So go for it, David. I support you.
Not always, but sometimes, yes.
Not always, but you've got a much higher percentage of response rate than I do. I'll say that much.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just figure you don't try.
Honestly, you're right. Not as much as you do. Right. I'll say that. But I talk to the people when I can. And fair. You know, that's but yeah, so they're getting ready. We get the montage of them working in the lab. They're doing their things. We go to the floor show day. We're setting up. Everything is great. Everyone's putting on a prosthetic. Everyone's using different colored foundation. It's a sea of Krylon, probably. Or what's the brand that sponsored them this season that they got earlier in the season?
I don't remember.
It might have been Krylon.
I don't think so.
Krylon, I don't
think so. Remember. I would bet it's not, because it was something that sounded familiar, and Krylon does not sound familiar.
Yeah, it was something that's, well, Krylon is the main, like, I would say probably the main, like, stage makeup brand. So that's why my default is Krylon. Regardless, they're doing their things, and we see a conversation with our dearest alliance. It's time for an alliance check-in, David, even though these alliances have not meant much because there haven't been that many curses recently.
I can tell something is bothering Pi, so I should probably go talk to her. Just talk to her. Don't tell us this. It feels fake.
Right.
Yeah, but we do have a conversation between Asia and Pi. They're checking in, and this is where Pi tells Asia about Auntie basically forcing her into an alliance. Which, honestly, I think this retelling is a little twisted. It did not feel like Auntie was forcing her into an alliance.
Pi is twisting all of the words. Like, I like Pi as a drag artist. I'll say that. And as a competitor in this competition, I'm really liking what Pi is giving. Do I think Pi should have been up for Extermination last week? Absolutely. I agree with you there, David, because I'm pretty sure that's what you said. But yeah, I'm like, I don't know that I like Pi as a character, I guess. Like, this is a wild twisting of words.
Yeah.
For what happened, because all Auntie said was, "Well, are we already looking after each other?" Yes.
The answer could have been no if you felt like you weren't, or yes if you felt like you are.
Like,
but she didn't twist her words when she said that Auntie is coming after Asia. Because that is true, unfortunately. And this does make me wonder, since this has been such a prevalent storyline, is this going to come to fruition at some point? Are they going to knock out Auntie? Is there going to be a payoff for this? Or is this just going to be inconsequential?
I honestly think it's going to be inconsequential.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dragula is not Big Brother. Dragula is Dragula.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if this was like Titans format where we were voting every week, then alliances make sense. But on a regular season, like, I get the use of a strategy here, but there also haven't been consistent fright feats with curses every week. Like, we've gotten, what, 3 curses this season?
Yeah, 3.
And you know for damn...
2 of them have gone to gray.
Literally. And you know damn well, because they talked about what happened in the Cauldron later, you know damn well we're going to get a curse next week. So I'm excited to see what the curse is.
Yep.
But
honestly, the next thing that happens is probably one of the most interesting things for me. And I wish we would get more things from this. We see Pie. We see Pie afterwards putting on her prosthetic. And she teaches us that she has this acetone that basically melts off edges and blends it in with the skin. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really cool. Why can't we see more of that instead of contrived drama? Maybe I'm in the minority. You're
not in the minority on this podcast. Okay. I love learning about those things. Like I've also taken a couple classes on prosthetics, so I knew about that. But for people that like you who haven't like explored makeup,
dummies like me,
prosthetic work, I'm not saying dummies like you. I'm saying people that don't have that experience. We were having a lovely podcast today talking about all the things, and you had to go.
You call me a dummy.
More shade at me. I did not call you a dummy. Anyway, we were having such a lovely podcast today, David, and you had to ruin it by being a bitch. Anyway, no, but I love these segments of teaching us the things, and like the overview montage where everyone's like, well, this is what my character is, this is what I'm currently working on. It's like all these things are so cool, and I'm glad that they do them. I want more of them too. Yes. I agree with you. So also, I don't know if anyone else noticed this, and this is just my horny brain clicked on for a second. I did not realize Jaharia had such a nice hairy chest.
Oh,
yeah, and I know she's worn the mesh shirt in confessional all season. I'm very aware of that. Guess I just didn't notice. And I was like, yeah, I'm glad I thought that Jaharia was really hot at the start of the season, because they are. But this is also just a hot cast in general. Honestly, like
it is,
and we've talked about that several times on this podcast. But shall we go to the next part?
Dang.
Attention competitors. Attention competitors. The floor show is about to begin.
We got a little bit. Jaharia gave me a little bit of Fantasia's reactions in this one, and I was really happy about it. I was very thrilled. Like, thank you, Jaharia. Because what I want to see is, I just want Fantasia back. But thank God the Boulets look good this week.
They do.
Because I haven't been the biggest fan of most of what they've worn this season.
Yeah, I think there's been 3 really strong weeks for them, and this is one of them.
It's been either big hit or big miss.
They have 2 in a row for me, so they're doing good.
I agree with you. Yeah, I love this melted wax thing. I love that they're not the same outfit either.
Right.
I love that Swan has the pencil skirt with the boot. I would want Swan's outfit. I don't know about you, David, but I would want Swan's outfit.
I would want David's outfit, because my aesthetic is shades of black, white, and gray.
from one David to another David. Happy to have him back.
Yes, he's great.
And more Land Insider, which always makes me happy too.
And I like that he's really starting to get more recognition in the mainstream. Like he's always been somebody on my radar since He was in The Dark Knight, which is one of my favorite movies ever. But like seeing him as a leading person in Late Night with the Devil, which was a pretty good movie, I think he's finally getting his due in recognition. So I'm happy for him.
I'm glad to see it. And I had completely forgotten that we had already gotten Landon on this season.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, Landon. Oh, wait. No,
I didn't. I was like, Landon again? I'm here for it.
Hey, I love that Landon is becoming, what reference?
T.S. Madison?
Serene Fox.
Oh, yeah.
Landon Snyder is the Serene Fox of Dracula.
Fair.
Where he'll pop up a couple of times each season. I'm never mad to see Landon. I'm thrilled always to see Landon. And Landon is LA based, so it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You can't fly Victoria Elizabeth Black out every week to guest judge, but Landon's there, so I love seeing Landon. Did you see the tour that was happening in? Speaking of Victoria, the tour that just happened with all the queens in Brazil, and I was like, that is such an interesting mix of queens.
It's like, is that Victoria in the middle of this picture? And the
Victoria,
first comment was like, is that Victoria?
Yeah, Victoria, Angeria, Lemon, Marina, and who was the fifth? I don't.
Somebody I like.
Someone I really like, because I was like, oh, that would be an ideal. Like, I needed to go to Brazil to see that show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't remember.
Angeria, where you at, girl? Plastique.
Plastique, yes. Someone I like.
Plastique, Angie, Victoria, Lemon, and Marina.
Mm-hmm.
An ideal show, honestly.
Yep, I would go.
But I love that Landon also came like in a bit of a version of what he wore for Dungeons and Drag Queens on season 3, I think.
It sounded like it. I don't remember exactly, but
reminiscent, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not a troll.
Not a troll. Not a troll. But I guess we should talk probably just about the fight scenes here. We'll talk about the looks on Look Over Here.
Mm-hmm.
But we can talk about the fight scenes because there were clear rankings for these fight scenes. Clear rankings.
Well,
for me, clear rank as far as the fighting and the choreography is concerned. I have a very clear ranking.
Okay, I have a pretty clear top 2, and then a pretty clear third.
We can talk about the third being Asia and Yuri.
Yeah, Asia and Yuri were definitely the weakest here. It felt really abrupt, and they did her
ending.
Yeah, they did Asia dirty. They definitely threw in a shot of her failing with the bow and arrow.
I don't think they had a successful shot.
Okay, then don't show it.
I think that's the most and then literally in her floor show package before the fight, she does it, and then you see her say "fuck," and then they cut to the next scene, and I was like, oh god.
And it sucks for her because like that's the hardest weapon that anybody has, and like I don't know if that was a requirement to have with their character.
I believe so. From what I understand, Tiefling as a race is predominantly either her race or class in this are predominantly archers.
Okay.
So like she basically had to be an archer.
Yeah, and that's a challenge. Like I feel like I would be a little bit more lenient on her just knowing okay, everybody else has to hold a stick and you have to shoot an arrow. And look, I took an archery class in college and I sucked. I never got better. Even a whole semester of doing it, I still never got better at archery. So bad. I felt her pain here. I would have been terrible.
I love archery. So I would have really enjoyed it. But all right. So obviously the two better teams were Auntie and Gray and Pi and Jaharia when it came to choreography.
Mm-hmm.
I will say for me, my second would have been based on just the fighting and the choreo. My second would have been Auntie and Gray.
Okay, that's what I was leaning towards as my second, but it was still pretty close.
They're very, very close. I do agree with you on that. The fighting was good, solid, clean, concise. They got in there. They knew what they needed to do. from what the Boulets were saying in production and in the actual filming of it, there were a couple of hiccups, but they were both really good at. And we kind of have to trust the Boulets with this, which I don't always love doing on a show like this. Like, I want to see the actual thing so I can judge it for my own eyes. But yeah, it was clean, concise. It was good. Their fighting was good. Good is the word for me to describe it, honestly.
Yeah, I think it was good, but not very creative. It's what you expect from a battle. Like,
yeah,
it's pretty straightforward. This one hits this one. This one hits this one. I think they were the only one that had a clear winner too, which I didn't love that. I like the more ambiguous, like, oh, who won this? Because when I saw Auntie win, I was like, oh, is that going to give her an advantage if they're judged individually?
Asia and Yuri also, like, Yuri kind of won, kind of, sort of. It was alluded to.
Oh, because she appears behind her.
Yeah, and she had, like, and they were talking about Asia in, like, her death.
Oh.
In the scene. Or, like, yeah. So it was, like, the assumption was that Yuri won it. But
well, there might be an assumption then with Pai and Jaharia too. But yeah, I do think I liked them best as far as the choreography went, because you could tell, like, that things were planned out, like the swinging and the ducking. It just felt like ballet a little bit at times. It was really cool to watch. And I think one of my favorite things was the use of the fire. I don't know how they did that, if that was actually there or if that was added in post.
It would have had to be CGI.
Would it? They did really good. It looked real.
Yeah.
Okay.
It might have been real fire that they then supplemented with additional editing. Because I know in a lot of, like, productions where you see fire, if it's supposed to be, like, launched at someone, I know, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, y'all, when it comes to, like, Avatar: The Last Airbender, like, there was some actual fire used in that, and some actual water to give, like, a foundation for then using CGI, things like that. But yeah, it was clean, concise, and well done. Yep. For me, though, the best choreographed routine and the best performed routine for me was Pai and Jaharia. And I'll go ahead and say now, I honestly do think this should have kept Jaharia out of the bottom.
Okay.
For me. We'll talk about her look. It was not great. I understand. But the choreo and the way that they moved together, it was so in sync. It felt like they had been rehearsing this for months, is what it felt like to me. It was so professional. It was so well done. And they both knew exactly what they needed to do and did it. And even though Jaharia did most of the choreo, Pai really responded well to that choreo and is someone that just does well when given choreography. So for me, they were for sure the strongest performance.
Yeah, and they even had, like, little mannerisms that they choreographed. Like, there was, like, even, like, just a subtle, like, head turn from Pai that stood out to me after she somehow put out Jaharia's flame, which is what made me think, like, oh, maybe if you had to declare a winner, Pai was, because she somehow extinguished Jaharia's flame as it was falling down.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Sure. But anyway, as always, we'll talk about the looks themselves over and Look Over Here, so make sure to check out that episode as well. Do you want to talk about our rankings and then some Cauldron stuff, David?
Sure, let's do it.
So, I agreed with the top three and the bottom three. It was pretty cut and dry for me. I thought the three best in this challenge overall were Auntie, Gray, and Pai, and the three lesser, I'm not going to say bad, because no one was, Asia was bad. Asia was the worst. And I love her, but she was the worst. The bottom three for me would have been Yuri, Jaharia, and Asia. And simply because for me personally, I don't think Yuri's look and performance outdid the combination of Jaharia's look and performance. So unfortunately, I would have had my draft team in the bottom two. I would have just had it be Asia and Yuri.
Okay. I would not have it the way it was, and I wouldn't have it the way you have it either.
Okay.
For me, I think I gave more focus on the look and secondarily the performance. So for me, I would have had the tops as Gray, Pie, and Yuri.
Gray, Pie, Yuri. Okay.
Yep. And then I would have had Auntie Asia and Jaharia in the bottom.
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and part of the reason for having Auntie there is I feel like of all the people on, I think Auntie and Jaharia were the two people that felt like they stayed in their aesthetics box a little bit too much. Even Asia to a degree. And I wanted to see people push their boundaries. So the three I had in the top were three that had more of a transformation into their characters. So I appreciated that. Plus, like, I do like Asia's look better than at least one of my tops. But her performance on the challenge is just something I couldn't forget.
That's fair. So you would have had Asia and Jaharia in the bottom still?
Probably.
Okay. That's fair. I absolutely get that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not what happened. Obviously. Our top three is Auntie, Gray, and Pie. And for me, I think I probably would have... We end up with a double win between Auntie and Gray. Furthering what I thought was going to happen, where it was just going to be judged in teams and they were going to have Pie and Jaharia be safe and Asia and Yuri in the bottom, which is what I think should have happened. For me, though, I think my winner overall would have been Pie. I think look and performance, Pie was the strongest person overall for me. But I also said, okay, I either want the winners to be both Auntie and Gray or Pie. So I'm very happy. I'm not upset that both Auntie and Gray won together.
Yeah. Yeah, when they declared Auntie as the winner first, I was legitimately surprised. I was like, oh, because I didn't even think she should have been in the top three. So I was glad it ended up being a double win for the team. But for me, if we're going to do a double win, I would be okay with them just splitting it on different teams and giving it to Gray and Pie.
I would have been okay with that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been more okay with Gray and Pie than Pie and Auntie.
Right.
I'll say that because Auntie did well, in my opinion. But I wouldn't have been... I actually maybe would have wanted to see Gray and Pie go against each other. Now that I think about it more. But hey, it is what it is. But our bottom three is Asia, Jaharia, and Yuri. They do spare Yuri. And the bottom two is Asia and Jaharia. And the moment they called the bottom two, I was like, well, I know what's happening. Yeah.
It was immediately clear.
And I'm not mad at who won the extermination. I'm just upset that, spoiler, we lost Jaharia. Right. But we find out that the extermination is the tattoo extermination from season 2 that they have done again since.
Yes, they have.
On Titans?
Yes.
I don't remember who was in it. It wasn't Kendra again. I know that much.
Wasn't Abora one of them?
I believe so. Is that when Abora goes home?
I don't remember. It's okay.
I'm gonna look it up because it's gonna bother me. But with a twist, where they will have 3 riddles, and if they get the riddle wrong, then they have to get the tattoo. But literally, the riddles didn't matter whatsoever because even when Asia does get the 3rd one right, she still decides to do the third tattoo. But we'll talk about that more.
Okay, I was like, we're skipping ahead.
Nope, we are not. Because Cauldron things. David, talk about the Cauldron.
Yeah, okay, here's our weekly, the bottom two fight with each other, even though they're not the enemy. The Boulets are the enemy. This is what capitalism does to people too.
Mm-hmm.
This is what employees do in companies. They make the employers do in companies. They make their employees fight with each other when they're not the enemy. Right. But we do have everybody go back to the Cauldron, and Jaharia, she says, yeah, it really sucks that I'm going to have to send you home, Asia.
I love that she had that delusional level of confidence.
Right.
I really do. Yeah. I really do.
Me too.
Okay. We were wrong. This is the third time that they've done Dungeons and Drag Queens, because they did do it on Dragula, on Titans.
Okay. See, I was like, I really felt like they did it at some point. Okay.
They did. Honest to God, Titans is a
fever dream.
I've blanked out that whole season. It feels like a fever dream.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when Erica goes home.
That's right. I like Titans. I do.
Do they not? Oh, they literally don't tell you what. That's stupid. Fandom Wiki, y'all get your shit together. They don't tell you what the fright or the extermination is each episode.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep. That's kind of shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you remember, let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
They did it. This is the third time they've done it.
Yeah, Jaharia thinks she has better critiques than Asia, and that's why she feels confident that she's sending her home. Then Jaharia also says Asia's been on the decline, and Asia's like, what are you talking about? I was high the past 2 weeks. And
Exactly.
Jaharia is like, well, I don't want to fight you.
I don't want to fight you. I don't want to do this. And I was like, thank God for breaking out of it, Jaharia. Mm-hmm. Like...
Yeah. Auntie reiterates her theory that everybody needs to be up for an extermination. And I really love this part from Asia in Confessional. She's like, for anybody out there watching who doesn't know, a win is good. Extermination means bad. You're doing bad. Yeah. So like, I get it. Like, you do not need to be up for extermination.
I understand the point of like, I do get what Auntie is saying though. Like who of the finalists of any of the seasons didn't go up for extermination with the exception of Landon? Like Landon is the only person I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't know. You're putting me on the spot with all these questions.
It would have been Vander had they not,
Right.
I have not eaten meat for 3 years. No, I'm not going to do the whole thing today. But yeah, and then all of this, like, I don't want to fight you, goes right into the extermination.
Well, one important thing that we alluded to is the pie of it all. We talk about, Pie's the only one who has not gone up for extermination. Pie's like, well, fine. If you all really think I need to be tested, how about you just curse me next time? In fact, if I win the fright feat, I will curse myself.
Baby. That's how Pie's going to get fifth. I'm calling it now. I'm not spoiled on this season because I'm enjoying it too much and I don't want to spoil myself. I'm fundamentally believing that is going to be the reason why Pie gets fifth.
Well, I don't think Pie's
if it happens, I
do think we will see Pie cursed.
I think we're going to see Pie cursed, and I think Pie's going to go home next week. I do. And I'm going to laugh when it happens. Honestly, I'm going to. I don't want Pie to go home.
Like, the curses have not been a bad thing so far. Like, everybody who's gotten a curse has kind of succeeded.
Well, maybe the luck is running out.
Mm. Although, was it... When was the first time Gray got cursed? Was that the Ghost Train episode?
I believe so.
Okay. If so, then that's the only time that the person who's cursed didn't win.
Yeah, literally. But yes, we go to the Extermination featuring Cynthia Doll. Yay! Shout out, because she's here somewhere. Shout out to Cynthia Doll, friend of the pod. Maybe we should try to get her on the pod. That'd be fun. But yeah, so she's reading out the riddles. I only got one of them.
They went too fast. I didn't have time to think about it.
I would have needed her to read it twice or three times. And I think I would have gotten it. But I got the last one.
Yeah. As soon as she said it, we heard Asia spit out the answer. I'm like, I didn't get time to process what the thing was.
Yeah.
So.
My roommate got it almost immediately. And I do love that Jahari just answered a baby.
It did make sense.
It is a correct answer. Technically. Technically a correct answer. But yeah, it didn't matter. The track records speak for themselves, and technically Asia did win the Extermination. And we lose Jaharia, and I'm really sad about that, because I really like Jaharia.
Me too. She instantly became one of my favorites. And I will say this, when I found out Jaharia was going to be on this season, I found out from somebody in Kansas City, like, oh, this queen that we're about to see perform, she's going to be on Dragula. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I went and looked at like the spoiler cast list online. There was no Jaharia to be found. I'm like, what? Nope. She was not spoiled until probably a month before the season started to air. And for me, when I realized that, I was like, oh, she must go home right away. She must be out first. If it was not on anybody's radar that she's in this cast, she must not be a significant factor. And boy, was I wrong. And I'm so glad.
Yeah, same.
So glad.
What is it about, and I don't remember who went home on Titans, so I'm just going to talk about the main series. What is it about the tattoo extermination that sends home fabulous black queens on Dragula? What is that about? I'm upset, because literally Kendra and Jaharia are two of my favorite monsters to ever be on Dragula. And I would be remiss if I did not bring up the conversation that I wish we had seen legitimately at any other fucking point of this season. And we get the conversation. It's a gorgeous conversation between Jaharia and Asia as they're finishing up the tattoos, talking about both being black drag artists in this alternative space who do not feel accepted or represented or like they are on the same level as some people. Again, I wish we had literally seen that at any other point other than the unfortunate slow roll and hours of tattooing that they did to send Jaharia home. I wish we'd seen that at literally any other point this season, but I'm thrilled that we did get it, because it is not always, and I actually don't think we have ever had two black drag artists on the same Dragula season. No, that's a big lie.
Yeah, we've had it
season
multiple
4.
times.
Season 4. No, season 4.
Yeah, we had Blackberry and we had Fantasia Royale.
Oh, God, obviously.
We had Saint and Maxie in season 3.
Oh, Saint Maxie and then Saint and Mary. Was there anyone?
We had 4 this season.
With 4 this season, which is incredible.
Yeah,
those are the things I want to see instead of this scripted alliance bullshit. Like, I want to see those conversations.
And Coco was also on season 4.
I'm really forgetting that all of these fabulous black drag artists were on the same seasons of Dragula, because literally they're all my favorites.
Right, and it's been interesting because I feel like the evolution of watching black drag monsters compete on Dragula has been very fascinating, because I can tell that the production and the Boulets, they want to see black monsters thrive in the competition. I think they just had a hard time finding people that fully fit what the show encompasses, because like Foxy,
Mm-hmm. Foxy
Kendra,
and Meatball.
yeah, and
They've been doing it every season. I keep
right,
forgetting
yeah.
about all the fabulous fucking black drag artists that they've had on this damn show.
Mhm. And it just took a while for them to really find black artists that like fully fit into what they're looking for. And that's not to count like anybody who like from the early seasons out,
Yeah.
because like clearly they have a lot of the elements there, and I think maybe they were just a little rough around the edges. But like it's really nice to see the past few years, like, okay, you all are getting it now, like we're getting the right kind of casting, and we're seeing these monsters do really well in the competition. So I'm excited for it, because yeah, like Asia is my favorite this season. So I think we're finally gonna get a black monster getting that crown.
I certainly hope so. But I have absolutely loved Jaharia on this season. She has been my confessional queen this season.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't make her the Exorcister and keep up the tradition of 2 seasons in a row having the fabulous Kansas City queen who got 6th be the Exorcister, I'm going to be really upset. So Boulets, y'all love Jaharia. We know that. Keep up the tradition. The first one was a fabulous black queen. The second one was from Kansas City. The third one should be a fabulous black queen from Kansas City. Thank you very much.
With Doc Martens tattooed on her.
With Doc Martin, that was hateful. That was hateful and disrespectful. And you know, it was probably one of the Boulet. It was probably Swan. Let's be real. Swan. I hope they talk about it on their podcast this week, and I will need to know, David, when you listen to it. It was probably fucking Swan or somebody being like, nope, get the Doc Martens on there. I have to say, I think Jaharia had my favorite death scene this season.
Okay.
I love the way they filmed this. Classic vampire, cool, love it, not mad at it. The cinematography was so good with this. Like, I think that also in itself shows that the Boulets like Jaharia enough to give her a good death scene.
For sure. And I was trying to figure out if it was like a quote from something. That was Swan, right? Who was the vampire?
I believe it was Swan.
She said, you've
caught me at a very unfortunate time.
Yeah. And I Googled it
or something.
Yeah, I Googled it to see, like, is that from something? And the only thing I could find was Julianne Moore says that in a movie called Don John. And I'm like, oh, that would be really random, because Don John is not a horror movie. It's a great movie. I really like the movie. But I was like, that's so random.
Right. And then, okay, I want to talk about it. The outro theme. It's not the traditional dun, dun, dun,
right.
dun, 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 the fabulous intro music. It's Israel dragging Jaharia down this hallway. My favorite part about this, and my roommate and I laughed about this for 5 minutes straight, the fact that Jaharia ran out of blood halfway down the hallway. Did you notice that? It's not a continuous trail. She runs out of blood.
Well,
I loved it. It was so camp to me. But it makes me think.
Nah. Don't read into it too much.
I'm going to read into it.
I did keep watching, though. I was like, this is not how it usually ends. So I kept watching and nothing else came. So I was like, oh, okay.
I'm not ruling out a situation where everyone comes back next week. And the reason why I'm not ruling it out, is because Majesty quit. And they did, technically, 2 people did get eliminated that week.
No.
Uh-huh.
Okay. then the previous episode, 0 people got eliminated.
Sure.
So it still kept them on schedule.
Sure. I'm just not... I'm reading into it too much. I know I am.
You are.
I'm aware of it. Fully aware of it.
You're being Eve right now.
I am, and I'm okay with it in her absence.
Tinfoil bunny ears are on Logan.
Absolutely, sure do. Absolutely, sure do. And if it happens, I will show up with tinfoil bunny ears.
Okay.
I'm not ruling it out. And if someone does come back, I hope it's Jaharia or Vivi.
Jaharia. It's got to be Jaharia. Although for my draft,
with Jaharia with Vivi as a close, I wouldn't be mad if it can't be Jaharia. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. Yep. I'd be happy for my draft.
Or is she getting dragged off because then she's going to be the Exorcister? That's kind of the other thing that I'm thinking. Is like it's not the last we've seen of her because she's going to pop up in season 6 as the Exorcister. That's what I'm thinking. So regardless, I'm sad, but I can't say it was fully undeserved.
Mm-hmm.
And we love you, Jaharia. Come on the pod. We'd love to have you. That'd be gorge. But
and send me my shirt.
Yeah,
I know it's not up to Jaharia, but I did buy it a month and a half ago, and it has not shipped yet. So I'm just waiting for it to be printed. I would have loved to wear it today, but it has not shipped even after I bought it on October 2nd.
Not this.
So, not Jaharia's fault. Whoever
not Jaharia's
prints it
fault
and ships it, it's their fault.
Yeah. David, where's the draft at? Because I genuinely don't know.
Okay, so things have been shaking around. I've mentioned that we've had 4 different people in the number 1 spot at some point.
Yep.
Right now, Brandon's in 6th. Brooke is in 5th place with 22 points. I'm in 4th place with 35 points. Mm-hmm. Eve is in 3rd place with 36 points. Mm-hmm. And then we have a tie for number 1. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Logan and Jack both have 41.5 points. So
I am not surprised.
Yep. And that's impressive considering Jack only has 1 person left.
They have Auntie, right?
They do not. They have Pie. You have Auntie. No, Eve has Auntie.
Eve has Auntie. You have Gray. Brooke had Jaharia.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad for a last pick for Brooke. I'll say that. We all kind of slept on Jaharia in the draft.
For sure. And I went ahead and revealed my reasons for not drafting Jaharia. Because I was like, oh, that's not a good sign if she wasn't spoiled.
Yep. And I'm the only one left with both of my people.
Mm-hmm. Although you do have somebody...
They only got me a combined 3 points this episode, so thanks, bitches.
Right. Just looking at Yuri's track record has been interesting. Low, save, up for extermination, high, low.
I'm like, can we give my baby a win, please?
Or can we put her out of her misery?
Either one.
Yeah. She's done great. She's done great. I think she has done
great. She has done great. And the thing is, and I was worried for her this week because she went home 6th on Down Under. So I was like, no. Yeah. But I don't need another Drag Race queen getting the exact same placement that she did on both of her seasons. But that is that. So we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you for joining us for this Dragula recap. We'll make sure to check out the look over here where we're going to talk about the floor show looks with lovely photos because thanks, Boulets. You're really making it easy to show the looks from your show. Thanks, Boulets. Subscribe, like, and share on the way out. Let us know all your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for those of you who are liking and subscribing and commenting. It does genuinely help us get pushed in the algorithm, and our Dragula videos have been doing better with more comments and more likes and more subscribers. So thank you, and we really appreciate it. And make sure to check out the description below where you can find all of our audio podcast links, our other YouTube channels, our Patreon, our social media, and where you can get your merch, including but not limited to cup mug. And with all that being said, we are going to go ahead and get out of here. So cheers, uglies.
Cheers.